Robbie.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Alex.
We're going to take a deeper look at culture and philosophy behind martial arts. So today we're talking about, do you owe your gym anything by signing up to them? Is it just completely a commodity, and do you are you just paying for a service, the service of being taught a class and being able to train, or by signing up to a gym and paying for it, are you signing up for something greater? Do you owe them anything, and do you have to obey certain rules that they might give you outside of the gym, or in relation to other gyms that you might come into contact with? So yeah, let's kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, gyms like, you see this being perhaps more prominent in jiu-jitsu, where, people who train under a specific person or a specific gym, they gain gain the knowledge that gym is, giving out, obviously by paying for it. But if they leave that gym, it's sort of frowned upon if they're then teaching the same techniques to other people around. I mean, an example I can come up with right now is Keenan Cornelius, who used to train, he used to train our Danaher squad, right? And he started teaching certain techniques that were, from that gym. And I've heard some people talk bad things about it and sort of frown upon it. Which
happened to Eddie Cummings as well, didn't it? He was the big one of the Danaher's death squad right at the start, and then
back in the day, yeah,
he was a big one right at the start when it was all kind of their fame, their infamy was kicking off, and then he kind of splintered off. I think there's a big thing in jiu-jitsu around that kind of. There seems to be a lot of upset when you change gyms or you train somewhere else.
Well, jiu-jitsu's got the whole crianche attitude. What does crianche mean? It's just traitor, right, in Brazilian or Portuguese.
Yeah, that's news to me.
It would make sense.
Crianche is a really common term that people throw around. Some people started having it as a joke on T-shirts and stuff. But crianche is a guy who won't settle down. He'll train at any gym and he'll sort of roam around and he'll just not commit to anyone, basically. And it's it has in the past been really frowned upon and really sort of a big faux pas in the jiu-jitsu community to do that.
I mean, I guess to an extent, the reason why that might be the case is that especially in the jiu-jitsu world, your gym is kind of your family, and when you become part of the team, in many gyms you kind of become the part of the family. So I could see that as being, in a sense, like a traitorous thing to do. And also I'm thinking, back in the day, gyms were competing a lot more in the sense that there were fewer gyms. And so if you went to a different gym, maybe you were, given the techniques that are being taught in a gym before to that gym, and you're kind of sharing the knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't share.
So I get the point, but I kind of disagree in a way because, okay, back in the day, Brazil, you'd kind of sleep on the mats. It was kind of your life, you train, the family thing. Go to now, right? That to me is a marketing campaign. That's people selling memberships, and people get pissed when you train at different gyms because you're not giving them all the money you could. You get the 2 times a week membership instead of the unlimited membership. People get pissed because you're not paying them. I think for me, when you're training now, you're paying for a service and you get the service you want. They teach you how to do jiu-jitsu. For me, when it becomes squirrely is when money gets involved and you're a competitor. So if you think about people who get to the top level, they start competing on Polaris, they make it to the UFC, and suddenly the gym's like, we need a bit of that. Like that's ours. At that point, for me, that's where I think the interesting chat is around what do you owe your gym.
Yeah, well, I guess we're kind of talking about two different things. There's on one hand is like exclusivity of teaching. And I think we're sort of transitioning to a different point. But to cover off exclusivity of teaching first is to say, if you are signed up to a gym, you aren't allowed to train at other gyms, which I fundamentally disagree with. Is to say that, you know, I'm signed up for one place, I can't pop around and do open mats at others. I can't just like, I can't mat surf, right? Which I fundamentally disagree with because, okay, if a jiu-jitsu gym is meant to be like your family, you can't then be... There's got to be given, you know, it's got to come from both sides. And if you owe your family something, you shouldn't betray your family. You shouldn't like compete against them. But at the same time, if my family said that I wasn't allowed to go out and see the world, it's an unnecessary burden on me. It's completely making these shackles, and I just don't think that's the sort of relationship I want to have with an optional family group.
Don't go to another gym and tell them your teammate's weakness. But if you go and get rounds in,
yes,
it's fine.
Yes, exactly. And I think the fear of training at other gyms is essentially born out of insecurity from the coach, because it's not purely about the money. I mean, it might be about the money. It's not purely about the money, but it's also about losing a student just on principle. But if I'm confident in my coaching ability, I should be confident that a student can go to another gym, experienced classes there, and isn't just going to leave like that, right? I should have some faith in my ability to teach the student and keep them around. So that's why I fundamentally disagree with exclusivity of training to one gym. And also, if they do go to another gym and they do find they're a better fit, if that gym is your family, shouldn't you like want them to find the best fit? And like it's kind of sad, but like even Marvin once said to me, Alex, Marvin is our MMA coach at UWA. I think Marvin once said to me, he's like maybe one day I will have like taught you everything and you might have to go elsewhere to learn more. And I thought that was fucking fantastic. And I was like, that's good. That's, you know, that's solid. That's exactly what you want. And that is a family move. That's like, I've done all I can for you. Move on. I mean, I don't.
It takes a very specific type of coach. I mean, person in general, where because you know, in this world of martial arts, MMA, jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of ego involved, and it takes someone who has their ego in check to suggest such a thing, right? It's like for us that Habi.
He doesn't want anything back for that. He wants you to be the best martial artist. He wants you to learn as much as you can, be as successful as you can.
Ultimately, that's what it's about, right? You're paying to become, or you know, if you're just training, for example, as a amateur, just you know, as a hobby, then obviously it's ridiculous that anyone would think that you have to be loyal to a certain gym. Like you're literally, as you said previously, you're paying for a commodity. It is what it is. You're in a free market. If there's a gym that works better for you because, I don't know, it's closer to your house, then fuck it. What's the problem?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think you should have the freedom to go elsewhere. And I think what's happened in more recent years is that, maybe not even that recently, you know, probably the past couple of decades, the competition scene has scaled up from local level competition being important to national level competition being important. And I think it's partly to do with freedom of information, just the internet, because now if we know who the best in the world is, that's the important thing. And quite frankly, the best guy in Wiltshire or Hampshire or London, you know, that's good. It's a good feather in your cap, but it doesn't really matter. However, and that's why maybe beforehand Creonch was a thing and it was like, do not train anywhere else. You've got to represent our gym when you train. However, Lee, you touched on the fact that it's the higher level competition. And when you go elsewhere, you have to represent your gym. That's still a big thing.
And it's the kudos the gym gets, right? I become world champion at the Worlds, kind of get my medal, stick it on the wall. You become a marketing campaign from the gym. You're on their socials. You're out there. Come train with us. You then become a coach at the gym. They sell you. Come and train with world champion. Suddenly, I go, not really working for me. I'm not getting the training I need. I'm not getting the sparring partners. I'm going to go to this other gym. All of a sudden, they've lost all their ability to kind of promote me, because when I go out and win things, I'm for my other gym. That gym then is kind of like, we brought him to this point. We got him there. We took him from a white belt through to black to a world championship, and now he's gone. We can't kind of promote him. We can't make money off that. We're losing his training partners because they're going with him. And then there's that ownership in gyms where they're kind of trying to make money off you being a world champ or being a known face in the sport.
Yeah, well, I do get it from the gym's perspective. If I've put a lot of work into building someone up, and I've even got them to the level which maybe they should be at, it depends why they leave and how they leave. But if I put a lot of work into someone, and then I just saw on Instagram they're like, "Hey, I've got a new gym, and these guys are fantastic," I'd be like, what the fuck, man? Like what happened to like what we had going on? And it's kind of more of like a personal thing, I guess. Like, and a relationship thing.
Yeah.
If you talk to someone and they're like Marvin, and they're like, "I've taught you all I can, go on." But if I take a lot from the gym, if I get a lot from the gym and just don't give anything back, I understand why they get quite angry.
Yeah, and I think that's, well, I'm speaking from inexperience, but I assume if you look at like MMA gyms, kind of Uriah Faber, what he did was kind of take people out of college. When they was turning pro, they signed contracts where they pay the gym X amount, and it was kind of contractually a deal that part of your purse comes to us. We get to market the shit out of your likeness, all that. I think the jiu-jitsu side of it, because the sport isn't that big, it's a lot more informal. So the bounds in which you owe your gym something are not clearly defined. So your gym always overestimates what you owe them. You always underestimate what you owe them. So then both parties feel a bit aggrieved. You start running off and going to other gyms, starting your own gym kind of syndicate. Your gym's bad-mouthing you throughout. And I think not having those clear bounds really makes the jiu-jitsu side of it really awkward. Like, how many spin-off gyms do we have from the main gyms?
Yeah.
You look how many they are now, how many, what was once an affiliate to Gracie Barra and now come off on their own. It's happening more and more frequently. And I think it's probably because you don't define, if I go in as a white belt, I just pay for my service, pay my £100 a month, train, get my few privates in. Once I'm a black belt and I'm training, I'm probably not paying for training. I'm probably doing some coaching, but there's nothing to say that what the trade is between us. There's nothing to say what I owe the gym, what they owe me. Once I decide I've had enough, everybody gets a bit pissed off.
Well, I mean, I guess this is the obvious bit that we mentioned before the podcast is coming on to Bisping.
Yeah.
And that's where this comes from. Like, I guess you're more informed in the situation. Like, so what was it? He trains at this gym.
I think he trained somewhere for years, left, and then they kind of disputed that he'd not given them what they owed, and there was a contract involved. They ended up suing him for it.
So yeah, that's I was going to say. So in jiu-jitsu, we've got a different side of things to MMA, because in MMA, the money involved is a lot bigger, right? And most of the time, the fighters they pay like a percentage of their earnings to the gym. At least that's how I understand the sort of thing, how the system works. So I guess in that respect, perhaps you are owing something to the gym, but at the same time you're paying your dues. So you've paid your fees. So as long as you've done that and that's not in arrears, then what's the issue, right? You're also paying for a service there. So it's I'm not entirely sure that I understand why they would like be able to do that? Was there any information whether he won the case or?
Oh, yeah, what was the outcome?
Yeah, I need to Google that, but no, I don't know.
You should 100% have looked that up before this podcast.
I heard him mention it on his podcast a while ago, and it always stuck in my head that he got sued off his old gym. But it's funny because it was probably after he became a world champ, and then suddenly they fell out of pocket because he was getting kind of world champ pay-per-view points, and they was probably thinking, oh, he's made it to the big leagues, he's making a fortune, we want a bit of that. It's like kind of, where does the bounds end?
Right.
But then I think we've gone into this one really kind of focused on kind of the money and the contracts. I think there's the other side of it is like loyalty. Is the kind of, do you owe your gym something? Well, if they took you from a white belt to a black belt and a world champion, or they took you from a guy who can barely throw a jab to the UFC, is there an element of just kind of pure loyalty that you owe a gym?
I think that depends on, you know, a lot of the times the gyms actually, they will, like, I don't know, for example, a fighter doesn't have enough money to pay for his rent, so he sleeps on the mats in the gym and things like that. So if you look at those deeper layers, then, you know, perhaps there is a case to be made there.
Well, I think though they are both two separate things, they're kind of very. I think the solution is really similar in both situations, and it's just kind of clarity of communication. Because on the money side, if you've got a contract like that's very clearly defined, you're like, you know, this is what you are, this is what you're going to pay, this is what you're going to owe us. Even if it's like in the future, like you in the future owe us this for this number of like, so long as everything is clear, like you might get pissed off, and we'll cover the emotional bit in a second, but financially wise, you know, so long as you're clear about everything, there can't be a problem. You know, someone might get upset, but at the end of the day, you know, you owe them this, it's on a piece of paper, it's fine. Mm-hmm. I think on the emotional side of things, I think it comes back to the family aspect again. It depends why you're upset. And I think that you should support your gym. If they've supported you to come up, you should then go on to support your gym. But if you need to communicate with your gym and say, like, look, have I done everything I need to? And if you're communicating with them, if they are your family and they want the best for you, then they should let you go if that's what's best for you. And you should go if that's the way you're going to advance your career. What you shouldn't do is go away, go like, hey, new teammate, I know that guy's weakness, I'm going to fuck him over now, right? Because that's just a sneaky dick move. But if you're going away because it's the only way to advance your career, it's the only way to make it better for your family, like I couldn't tell one of my teammates, I'd be like, why the hell are you leaving? Like, you need to stick with us. Like, no, the family thing, it's all about wanting what's best for you and wanting what's best for your family. And you should let someone go if that's going to be the important thing.
I get that, and I agree with you, but I also disagree in the sense of, I think that's a really kind of rainbows and lollipops view of the world, in a sense that in an ideal world, you are like, I want the best for you, I want this. I think a lot of gyms now just give a shit about money, and if they lose you and there's a chance you're going to take some people with you to your new gym, they then are incentivized to create this culture of we're your family, you don't train anywhere else, it's us or nobody, to then keep you there, to keep getting that monthly payment, to keep them getting money in their pocket.
Hey, quite frankly, if a gym is going to try and use the emotional family aspect of things to monetize me, I would prefer not to be a part of them in the first place. And as soon as I realize they're going to do that, I would prefer to leave and find a new gym, because that's just fucking disgusting move. Like, honestly, just playing on people's emotions to try and make more money out of them. Like, how can, like, that cannot be argued as a good thing.
No, I was not saying a good thing.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you're arguing it as a good thing. But to mix those two bits up, they're separate issues, and they should be treated as separate issues. And if you need someone to do something because you've supported them, you should make that clear, and you should be like, hey, look, I just need you to stay for a while longer because we need X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But then you're free to go on your own way. But I think I think the issue is
ultimately a person should be able to to do. It's like a relationship, right? You have a relationship with someone. It's literally, I mean, it is, you're entering a sort of a relationship in some way when you're, you know, you're getting loyal to a gym and you're representing a gym. So it's if you're unhappy or if something like that appears, then you should. I mean, we live in a free world. You are allowed to say, look, something works better for me, and I think this is the right decision for me, and I have to make this move. But of course, the case, what you do is just you're making sure that you're leaving the place in a good, in a good way. Like you're speaking to your coaches, your team, and they understand what your reasoning for leaving is. If it's, if there hasn't been any weird back and forth before that, and I think there's no issue. Like most people should understand that.
I think that's the thing. I think in the absence of having something contractually written down, signed off, agreed, communication between yourself and the gym is critical in it happening successfully. Because you go, right, look, like Robbie said, you kind of have a chat with them and they go, oh, we need you to stay around for 3 more weeks or whatever. You go, I'm going to go traveling, I'm going to try some new gyms, I'm going to go teach somewhere else, whatever the situation. They go, all right, give us a month to kind of find a replacement coach, give us a month to get this set up. You can kind of do it amicably if you kind of make sure you're each aware of why you're moving, what's going on, as opposed to I'm off, bye, and then that's where the bad thing kicks in.
So I only know there's only, one particular case that springs to mind, and no names of any particular gyms or people. But I know one time I spoke to the guy who left, and he was like, why are they annoyed? Like, I just need to do this because it's better training there. And I spoke to the coach completely separately, and he's like, after everything I put in, he just leaves without like saying anything. That was a dick move. But and yeah, like if I'm honest, I'm inclined to think that the guy is allowed to leave and he's allowed to go to whatever gym he wants. But also, we spoke about in like one of our very earliest podcasts that being part of a gym is being part of a family, and that's true. So you don't just fucking leave without telling anyone why you're going. I mean, we're kind of running to the end of the time. We've got only like 4 minutes left on this, otherwise it's going to cut out. And I almost feel like this is rounding to a close. It's just this, like, we always talk about like this podcast being like general life stuff through martial arts, and you know, it's general life stuff. If you're in a relationship, like, communicate with people.
I think that's a good analogy. Is the relationship one is the good people don't just kind of ghost you. You have good communication. It's not working for me. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to go elsewhere. I think the thing you owe your gym is to be honest and transparent and tell them what you think instead of just fucking off.
Yeah.
And some gyms are cool, and other gyms are jealous girlfriends.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please consider subscribing to the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram under the name Combat Thoughts. We'll see you next time.